All right, who likes sardines? Well, that's what this game about here. Lata is about, what is it, the Portuguese canning industry starting after World War II because, hey, canning sardines is an important thing and it's an important project, and I like that. I love the cover of this. Pythagoras Games these days is making their games look really fantastic, and this one is no exception with one, well, there's one exception there, actually. We'll get to that after I show you how to play. Players are going to have 9 actions that they'll be using each round of the game, and they're going to be bidding these for turn order. And then in turn order, they're going to be picking from groups of cards. So the first group, you'll be adding cards to your factory, and it's free to add them to these first 2 spots, but if you want to add them to these spots, you're going to have to pay money. But whenever you take cards, you have to add them, so you might even replace a card that you already have in your factory. Once they've done that, players are going to produce. And so sardines can just be canned by themselves. This guy needs some olive oil, so I don't have any olive oil, but if there was olive oil on the card next to him, I could then make him olive oil, and hey, I got another sardine here. Then after players have taken cards and run their factories, they're going to be able to sell. There'll be some of these cards out here, and you'll be able to sell to these different spots on them, which will give you money. The person who puts the final one there takes the card and will give them this flag, which could be worth points at the end of the game. To sell requires an action for each card that you sell to, so if you bid too many actions to go first in turn order, you might not have enough actions to sell to these cards. And then the last thing that players do in a round is they're going to be spending money to buy point cards, and these will give you, this one for example, gives 2 points for every 2 flags you have at the end of the game, 4 for every tomato that you can see in your factory at the end of the game, and there's all different point values. This one's just 7 points. And then you repeat and you'll run this again. And after a certain number of rounds, you'll take the point cards that you have, plus you get points for every flag that you've done, and whoever has the most points is the winner. This game here, I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10 because it's almost what I want. But there's 2 problems. One is kind of a mix. It's an esoteric game. It really is. You really have to kind of put your mind. This game does not do things that other board games do, which is good and bad, right? You're taking these cards, you're putting them into a factory, you're then running that factory. You have to put the cards in a factory, which means you have to pay money. And if you don't have money, then you have to cover up the spots without money. And then you're combining 2 cards next to each other for cubes, which I'm telling you, for some people I thought was really a difficult thing to understand. It's just not very intuitive. Then you take those cubes and you sell them in markets, and then you'll be buying victory point cards, and all this will cost actions. And so the number of actions that you take and spend is going to be a big deal. When you run your factory, each card that you run is an action, and so you bid actions, and you have actions run your cards, and you have actions, so you kind of have this currency, and all that works together, I think, to make a decent game. But because it's so weird and out there, I'm not 100% sure a lot of people are going to like it. There's going to be a lot of people who will come and say, this is a really cool, clever game, but I don't know that it does stuff better than bigger games. The designer of this game is very creative. I mean, the games that he has done, I'm just always impressed with his neat ideas, and this has some neat ideas in it. The bigger problem with this game is I really, really dislike that initial bidding part of the game, because going first in this game is a huge advantage. And now I should mention there's a variant where you can basically bid around the table spending actions, and that's a much better variant, because if I bid a certain amount of actions and you bid higher than me and you go first, I've still lost those actions, and it just doesn't feel that great because you're going first a bunch of times, and that really kind of tainted the rest of my view of the game, because going first in this game is a bigger deal than almost any other game I've played in a long time. And then the victory point cards do not feel balanced. I could be wrong on that, but some of them are like, hey, you get points for cards that are face up, and those cards might never show up, or someone else might take them, while this card is just worth 7 points. A much clearer thing. But who gets a 7-point card? The person who went first. So there's a lot of interesting ideas here. I love the theme. I love the look of the game. I like the ideas in the game, but it just falls short for me. I'll play it, but I'm playing with the variant, first of all, and then after that, I'm like, I don't know. This game is stretching my brain in weird ways, and I don't know that the payoff is as strong as I want it to be. So that's why it's a 6 out of 10. That's Lata.